I want to call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education for Murphysboro District 186. Mrs. Hines, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bain?
Here.
Mr. Beavers?
Here.
Mrs. Brazel? Here. Mr. Green?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mrs. Evaldi? Here. Mr. Runge?
Here. Next item, Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Green, would you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is the approval of the agenda. Dr. Evers, are there any changes to the agenda as printed?
No.
Then I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5 is the approval of the consent agenda, which consists of District 186 regular board meeting minutes dated 1/18 of 2022, Tri-County regular board meeting minutes dated 1/12/2022, Tri-County bills for February 2022, applications and reports, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6 is the approval of District 186 bills for February of 2022. I'll open the floor to any questions from the board. And I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads no. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the bills as presented. And a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Hines?
Mr. Beavers?
Yes.
Mr. Bain?
Yes.
Mrs. Brazel?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Evaldi?
Yes.
Mr. Runge?
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 7 is communications. Do we have any?
We do. We have 3. So the first one is from Tracy Hines. Dear Dr. Evers, it is with mixed emotions that I share with you my plans to retire at the completion of the 24-25 school year. I have so enjoyed my work in the district as a music and art teacher, and upon my retirement, I will have served the district for 13 years. I am deeply honored to end my career here. Should you desire my input, I would consider it a privilege to assist you in finding a replacement for my position before my last day of work. Please let me know how I can help during this process. I want to thank you, Dr. Evers, for your support of performing and visual arts education during my years in Murphysboro. It has been a distinct pleasure to nurture a love for the arts and to forge the connections between the arts and science, social studies, math, and language arts in many students. I've been privileged to guide, support, and mentor. Please let me know what steps I need to take to formally begin the retirement process. Thank you again for your tireless support and thoughtful guidance of Murphysboro CUSD 186. Sincerely yours, Tracy Hines.
And I'll entertain a motion to approve that retirement.
So moved.
And a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
What year was that? I'm sorry.
24,
24, 25.
Thank you.
It's also the year that some of our two of our third grade teachers will be going out, so it's shaping up to be a pretty big year. So our Educator Pathway Grant is going to be very helpful to start growing our own, teachers, so that we can, just
Good.
work right through that matriculation up to.
Did we approve that? Okay.
All right. Sorry, I interrupted.
The next one is from Susan Phoenix. Dear Dr. Evers, please accept this letter as my notice of resignation effective at the end of this current school year. Sincerely, Susan Phoenix.
I'll entertain a motion to approve that resignation.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The last one is from Brandy Aiken. To whom it may concern, please accept this letter as a notice of my resignation from my position as school social worker at General John A. Logan Elementary School. My last day of employment will be May 31st, 2022. I appreciate the opportunity to work for this district over the past year and look forward to using the skills I have gained in my future endeavors. Thank you again for the opportunity to work for District 186. I wish you and your staff all the best. Should you have the need to contact me after May 31st, please reach out. Sincerely, Brandy Aiken.
And I'll entertain a motion to accept that resignation.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That was it?
That was it.
I just have one item. I want to thank all the administrators for providing the board with the deep dive on the student progress after the presentations last month. We appreciate that.
And we are about a month away from making a decision on what, I thought I was gonna sneeze, so I put it on and it passed. So, making a K-8 systematic approach so that we really can compare growth from K through 8th grade, and then they'll advance at 8th grade, they'll transition, they'll do whatever system we use. They'll do a dual approach as 8th graders. They'll take the college board, they'll take PSAT with Mr. Ellemeyer students they'll go to the high school and test during their 8th grade year and get transitioned over to college board, but it will be a seamless K-8 system so that you really can compare your child's growth and their national percentile ranks, their RIT scores. So that will be a decision that we will bring to the board at the March meeting. So.
And I think for this present board and past board members, finally,
And
we're gonna be vertically aligned, which I think is great.
You're gonna see more and more. Math curriculum is now K-5, and we will look at either K-5 or if we can go all the way K-8 on decisions for language arts, math, science, social studies. Whenever we can, we will at least have our 2 elementary buildings. Sometimes you have to go to a text that's more like a 6 through 12 aligned, but we're not going to have 4 different shifts in our curriculum. So we'll look at, maybe 2 pieces of the puzzle, but never again where we'll have 4 different shifts where there's goal overlap, because the state standards are differently communicated across series. So
Very good.
it's a good path we're on.
Thank you. Item number 8 is fishbowl, and I think we had one. Mr. Green, you have it?
From the desk of Michelle Asa, Carruthers School received a check for $918 from the Illinois Green Alliance. We were awarded a Green Schools Project grant to cover the cost of 9 motion sensor switches that will be installed sometime later this school year. This will help reduce electrical costs in hallways when they are not in use and after hours.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, item number 9 is the Freedom of Information Act request. We had one from Smart Procure. Information was provided, and if I'm not mistaken, they do this yearly, correct?
Multiple times a year,
Okay.
at least 2 or 3, so yeah.
All right.
We got it down to a science now, how to get the information to them, so.
Next item is a recognition of the audience. The Board of Education welcomes the audience to make public or employee comments. The board has set aside time in the agenda specifically for this purpose. Pursuant to Board Policy 2.230, each speaker shall be limited to a 5-minute presentation. Please be aware that while this is the time for the public to express its opinions and/or concerns, the board may or may not comment regarding public presentations. If a matter of public comment warrants discussion or action of the Board of Education, such discussion or action will be added to the agenda of a future meeting. Are there any public concerns? Are there any employee concerns? All right, I do have one. I've been contacted by a few employees asking if we could discuss giving non-yearly employees the option of spreading their paycheck over 12 months rather than just the school year. So I would like for that to be added to the agenda for next month. Like I say, I've had several people contact me about that. All right, we'll move into old business. First is the approval of Carruthers HVAC project bid, which is enclosure number 1 in your packet, and I will open the floor to any questions from the board.
I noticed that the bids came in basically double what your estimates were.
Yeah,
I didn't know if,
That's why we brought him.
yeah,
well, part of the problem, there's about 3 issues that cause this problem. And it's part of the problem why the bids were a little higher on this project too, is ESSER is one. Everybody's trying to do HVAC, so everybody's bumping their prices. COVID's another. That's kind of becoming a lame excuse, but it is. We did find out early on in the Carruthers bid that it was going to be really, really high. Talked to Dr. Evers, told her what was going on. We worked with the manufacturer, was able to get some of those costs down. But what we did find out is they had a cost increase of about 65% in the last 6 months. I reached out to a couple of our mechanical engineers that we do other work with, asked them, they weren't aware of it either. Everybody uses about $3,000 a ton And that's what we used to budget. Now it's running $5,500 to $6,000 a ton. So that's where the cost is. It's just a combination of a bunch of different things that happened. that
How
we-
will you stay on top of that? Because I know that that trend, like with roofing materials, it went from about $6 a square foot, correct, when we did the middle school roofing, to now it's almost $18 a square foot for
Yeah,
roofing.
and it's a thing that we're trying to stay on top of. We got caught on this one, quite honest. It hit us, we weren't prepared for it.
So whenever you're saying $3,000 a ton, is that just the unit,
It's, for instance, Crothers was 205 tons total capacity. So we budgeted about 600,000 plus install. Well, you go 200 tons at 5,500 to 6,000 a ton, you're at 1.2 million plus the install.
Now, with that big of a jump, like we saw last year with, OSB,
Right.
is this gonna come back down? Does it behoove us to wait?
With the ESSER money, I want to say no, because we just don't know. We don't know.
And we, at this point, we haven't gotten like extensions for like fulfillment of like so I don't know. I mean, have you heard anyone where they're gonna say that they're gonna allow you to schedule it out to like 25, 26,
Somebody has to be
27?
spent within.
But-
for using
It's
the
gonna
ESSER
dry
grant
Like
money.
Right.
September of 24.
That's why we are.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Well, that's why we typically bid our work between that November, January. This one's a little bit later because we had to essentially, he had to make some calls because we had one manufacturer, they only wanted AON units. When I talked to Darren, he has a desire to have consistent units across all buildings, and it makes sense. And so it wasn't, we couldn't look at another model because it really is beneficial to have similar, units at all
That's correct.
areas, so.
That's correct.
so lumber's come down, but metal hasn't come down at all?
No, and PVC prices are outrageous. I mean,
But we
And you don't know,
may,
it could get worse, you're like throwing the batch.
That's right. It could get worse. I don't know.
Inflation go up 10%,
you think,
Bite your tongue.
roofing will come down again, but I mean, it's just tough to say, and so, with Miss Finke, it may be that we wait, to a little bit longer to see if it does come down with, because that would be our next school.
Well, with
HVAC.
with this being an ESSER grant, it stinks.
It
Right.
does,
It is
Yeah.
what it is.
it is,
And like I said, it caught everybody off guard.
it
Our
was,
competitors,
everyone's doing,
everybody.
they're doing windows and HVAC. Anyone who had to replace windows or HVAC, those were the two things that they really recommended be considered for bringing in that fresh air. And I would say, that there, especially in one section, the fourth grade section of Carruthers, there really needs to be some moisture management. They have to come in and scrub and buffer off some, it's surface level,
Staining.
spores and staining that comes, so they do regular of that because, going to a newer unit that brings in fresh air that will, that they won't have to do so much upkeep on the humidity in those spaces because that fourth grade wing gets a lot of direct sunlight exposure, and so it has that kind of greenhouse effect.
So you've obviously got a plan for the federal money. How does this increase fit into your plans? Obviously, it's taking away from something else.
Yeah, we'll have to move some salaries out, some salaries that, we'll always have to maintain beyond the grant, to adjust for these increases. That was a discussion that Dan, had with me this morning. So, I mean, those are things that, we've always talked about, position by position, we'll consider whether or not they need to be filled, based on our numbers and our projected numbers, but, we may be shifting some salaries out of grant,
One thing too, as part of some of this is, some of the lead times are just nuts. I mean, and these contractors are taking that into account with their labor rates and some other stuff. It's a smaller part of it, but it is a part of it.
But will you tell them the projected on this one?
Right now, we think Carruthers, if you guys approve tonight, we believe the equipment will be here in May.
This May.
If if it goes any further out,
That's actually not bad.
that's really good.
That's
So-
not bad at all.
Yeah, and so they have their, A&W has their own crane, and they can lift and with, yeah, I mean, be
Right.
pretty efficient, I think,
They're,
right?
they are prepared to order the equipment tomorrow. Of course, we'll have to approve the shop drawings, but that won't be a big deal for us. But if they get that, then that job's done. You guys are moved in, everything's working, come August.
Jim, refresh my memory. We've got a base bid, alternate bid 1 and 2. What are 1 and 2?
Okay, alternate bid 1 would be a full-blown building management system, similar to what we did at the middle school. And in talking with Darren, we decided we had some trouble at the middle school with the building management people. They were just being a pain, being a royal pain.
Who was it, Honeywell or Johnson?
Dynamic controls.
Oh, Diane, okay.
Yeah. So we had the alternate 2 is a manufactured supply system that Darren won't be able to control the doors. He'll be able to control the doors for what he's got, but if he had the building management, it'd all be put together. He's gonna have 2 different icons basically on his laptop. One for the heating and air and one for his building control, his cameras, that type of stuff. So, and it's a major difference in cost.
So he can still, with those 2, instead of having it under 1, he just had, you know, if he needs to I had to lock myself out, he can let me in on a door with, you know, from his computer, or, I mean, Darren is amazing with, and he said it has still that same, if we're at a game and it's hot, and I say, hey, it's hot in the gym,
Yeah,
he controls
he
it like
can
that.
control
from
everything from his
computer.
laptop or his iPad or whatever he's got using. That's the difference. You won't see that on McIlvain because we pulled out the dynamic control spec and just went directly with the manufacturer's system.
So then your recommendation, I guess, you and administration would be the base bid and alternate bid 1?
Yeah.
Alternate 2.
2, I mean,
You are
2,
too.
sorry.
Okay.
That's what the letter says, doesn't it?
Yes.
Oops.
I have the letter.
I was gonna say, I haven't seen it. I didn't. So base
Okay.
plus 2, okay.
So your projected completion date is August 2022?
If everything goes right, yes.
This
We
is for-
gave them
this
till
is
the
for
end of
Carruthers.
we gave them till the end of
Correct.
December
Yeah.
Well,
because of equipment lead
And
times.
CARES knows on the middle school gym roof that we approved, as soon as materials and work overhead can begin, no matter when.
You're saying as long as we get equipment May, deadline should be August?
Yeah.
Okay.
He thinks it'll take him about a month from start to finish, once he gets it.
That's not bad.
McIlvain's a little different because we have a roof involved, so we'll have to wait for a roof, but equipment can get ordered, we'll have it maybe in a shop or something, but
Low bidder acceptable?
Yeah, I'm satisfied with the low bid on both, the Carruthers and the McIlvain that we'll vote on. Baker McGee is the low bid for, the McIlvain project.
Yeah.
We're very satisfied with both.
and all their subs are reputable subs on the McIlvain. I jumped ahead, I apologize.
Yeah, we haven't got that one, Darren.
We'll vote on.
Let's,
On the Carruthers, is there any painting involved?
No.
Just checking.
Well, there is on the piping,
We're not gonna see it upstairs though.
Yeah.
but, yeah, they'll paint that in the shop.
other questions from the board? Thank you, Mr. Seifert. I'll entertain a motion to approve the bids for Carruthers, base bid and alternate bid number 2. In a second,
Second.
Mrs. Hines.
Mr. Beavers?
Yes.
Mrs. Brazel?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Bain?
Yes, sorry.
Mrs. Evaldi?
Yes.
Mr. Brinkley?
Yes, motion carries.
There's a proxy vote.
Item number 2 is the approval of the McIlvain HVAC roof replacement and office space addition, which was sent to you, I believe, today, sent to the board today, as the bid openings were today. And I'll open the floor for questions from the board.
I mean, is there anything you wanna point out about it?
I will point out, we started, when we did everything, we started with a 1,600 square foot addition. It morphed into about 2,100 square foot addition. Time we filled in some gaps and stretched it, made it look right. So it morphed in about $100,000 more.
The gaps were weird. It would have been like just.
There's no dead space now.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some weird kind of dead area, like where Steve's office is.
Hard to mow, mulch, do anything
Yeah,
with,
so
and then potentially.
Got some storage out of it and a little bit bigger space in a couple of the offices.
And refresh me, my memory here as well. What was the estimate on this one?
1.3, 1.2?
Yeah.
I had those notes and I forgot to grab.
Okay.
Again, it was your HVAC, that additional space, and roofing was a little bit bigger number than what we anticipated on this one too. But it's a tough roof.
Who's
You got-
whose
you
figure
got-
you using for roof? Whose figure you using for roof?
Mark Roofing. Yeah, you got Russell Electric.
The electrical side of it.
You've got A&W, RP Coatings, doing the painting. A&K is doing the ceilings in the addition.
RP Coatings doing the painting.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Trying to think who the others were that was listed. Can't think
Electrical.
off the top of my head.
That's Russell.
Russell's
Russell.
out of Metropolis. I've used them before.
We've had him on a job. He's,
So what's our timeline look like on this one?
When the roof comes in, I mean,
well,
that's,
you're gonna have an addition that gets built that won't get any finishes done because you won't have a roof. That's my fear. And we're gonna sit here until they can get roofing material. Roofing material's 12 months.
I mean, concrete and brick will be out there. That's it.
Yeah.
Pitch tent.
well, and I want the room, or I want the addition to be seamlessly connected, so I mean, waiting on the roof is just, it would just behoove us in the long run.
Everything will go through.
I agree.
What room
But
is
it
that,
is
Steve's
sad,
room?
cause that's gonna be the holdup. I mean, they're gonna be able to get HV, the addition, all that stuff done in a timely manner, but the roof will be the holdup.
Well, you don't want out there, even if it's concrete and brick, you don't wanna get rained on constantly, and if it's attached to the building.
They'll have to protect things and everything, so.
Okay.
When would they estimate to start if we
12
approve?
months.
Now, honestly, I haven't talked to Faker yet.
Okay.
My guess would be time they get bonds, insurance and everything, they would want to start probably, this is February 15th, I would guess maybe April 1.
That quick,
Yeah,
even though it's, well, I mean,
Well-
we've got to get on their schedule too.
right. They'll dig the footings, they'll,
Sure.
you know, get all that. They'll tear down Jan's building, put her somewhere.
Leave her out there until we're complete.
Work from home.
So it's done, yeah.
Find
so
out,
it's done.
I'll just, I would
No,
like that.
that is part of it too, we're tearing down those, that.
Eyesore.
So,
And that will be a discussion probably for a later date, Jim, when we look at that number for the tear down of our financial office, potentially tearing down the one,
one low building.
at Carruthers.
Oh, at Carruthers, oh, okay.
It's a similar structure in about the same state.
Okay.
It just isn't occupied.
We can find out pretty quick on what their cost will to tear it
Tear it down and see if it's something that will have to be a bid or
All right, any other questions from the board?
What was the alternate, Jim? I have forgotten.
There wasn't an alternate on this one.
It's just an
Oh,
addendum.
add number one.
There's an addendum. There's an addendum number
Okay,
one.
gotcha.
Just as
Sorry.
Is that the capital development board qualification, is that what that is?
No, it's, we have that in there all the time. The addendum one was a cleanup of a couple things.
Okay.
We pulled the spec out, the building management spec, and a couple people asked a couple questions, so we cleaned a few things up.
You're satisfied with all the subs that they have?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we cut several hometown people.
The bids were actually fairly close.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really pleased with how close they were.
Yeah. 4 competitive firms. So,
Yeah.
and we did okay in the market.
Other questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve the McIlvain School project as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Second?
Mrs. Hines.
Mr. Bain,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mrs. Evaldi,
Yes.
Mr. Beavers,
Yes.
Mrs. Brazel,
Yes.
Mr. Rungy.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 3 is the approval of the K through 5 special education math curriculum after the committee is bringing back the recommendation to go with the SRA McGraw-Hill math curriculum. Are there any questions from the board?
We actually have to table that till next month, so,
Oh.
it's not finalized, so we will have those numbers, so that's just gonna be a carryover item, Ms. Hines.
Okay.
They had to get a little bit narrower on
Gotcha.
the numbers for the, third
All right,
one.
then we will move into new business. We just have one item, and that's summer school, and we will be using the ESSER 3 grants to provide summer school again. And the administration will be working with the staff to identify those students who should go in, and we hopefully will. But they'll benefit from attending. So was there any quick questions from the board on that?
You notice he threw the word quick up there.
What was that?
There's nothing we have to approve for that.
No, it's informational only. All right, we have a need to go into closed session.
I make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 2 of the Open Meetings Act 5, Illinois compiled statutes 120/2C, to review the discussion of minutes lawfully closed, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district, including hearing testimony on complaint lodged against an employee to determine its validity, and 3, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees.
Second?
Hey, I like the way you think.
Mr. Beavers,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mrs. Evaldi,
Yes.
Mr. Bain,
Yes.
Mrs. Brazel,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yep.
Mr. Rungy.
Yes, motion carries.